So please, remember we have all of these documents which are important to find out on Educandos. Lots of them. So you have features, you have the guidelines for evaluation, all the tasks, the rubrics so far that we have already explained. So there's lots to be found, and I hope you can find everything that is necessary for the modules. And as we have been revising since last week, we need to pay attention to evaluations. I cannot stress enough how much we need to pay attention to evaluations. We are at the moment of getting some evaluations done. And therefore, I upgraded this information. We are on week 8. And week 10 will be an important week for grades. I have to upload the video grades to SGC. And this is an important moment since our authorities are also waiting to see how your grades are doing, how you are doing by means of your grades. And therefore, we need to inform this. That is why it is important to bear in mind that the girls are here. So we will. Hello, everyone. Hello, Eileen, Javiera. So we're revising just a little about evaluations. And please bear in mind, we have important deadlines to bear in mind. So this week, I will give you second feedback for your script. So everyone got at least one feedback. Eileen, I sent you the feedback last night and this morning. Mila, I sent you the feedback this morning. So you have at least one feedback. So today, tonight, let us say tomorrow early morning, I can provide you with second feedback. With the second feedback, you will be able to record your video before recording. So I gave you lots and lots of feedback so that you can organize it better, express yourselves in a better way. Then this will be uploaded next week. This is already the recording. Yes, week 9. And then we don't see each other for 2 weeks, but nevertheless, you will be working because you need to finish the portfolio for midterm revision. And I will upload the grades on about the video grades on SGC. Hopefully, they will be flexible with that. So you have a lot to do these coming weeks. Yes, even when we don't have classes, online classes. So please, everyone, I will remember this, remind you of this by the end. We need to upload again the second version. And then you will be free to record this, to do your recording. I have to remind you of participation in the forum. This is important. This is evaluated. I have already told you. You have the rubric. So it's just that you do it. Then your portfolio. We have already talked about portfolios as well. We will have a midterm revision for extra credit. And there's something missing, some information missing here. So you just need to have this updated. It's for your own profit, your own benefit. No, it's not this one. This is the task. So your benefit, for your benefit, it would be good to have your portfolios half done, finished. And this is task 4 that we will discuss today. So I think these 4 tasks are doable. You have time to have done them and finish your portfolio with reflections up to week 10. Yes, week 10. You have 2 more weeks. So,
Miss?
do you have any questions? Yes, Javier.
Yes, I have a question. Maybe a doubt. The task number 2 is the photo or
That
not?
was, yes, that was the publication was was one section of the task, but the
Okay.
task might have other sections. Yes, am I right? Yes, you have more sections to the task. So think that probably sometimes we publish the post reading, yes, or something we do with that, some graphic, infographic. That's the production, that's the final production for publishing. But before that, you have pre-reading, you have while reading activities. So that is what you have to add in your portfolio. In your portfolio, you add everything. Everything that belongs to that task. Anyway, we have the tasks here. We can see them again. Task 4 we will discuss today. And that will be the last one, the last task, I think. I'm not sure whether we will have time to discuss any other task since you still have to finish the previous one. Yes, this is task 3. So you have some discussion before the infographic. Yes, so it's about motivation, about some questions, and then you have the infographic as a final product that you published. Yeah, so the whole complete task needs to go to the portfolio. Okay, that was a good question, so we could clarify these doubts. And finally, so we have ongoing. Ongoing means we're doing while we are advancing, yes? One of them is the forum participation, and the other one is the portfolio with the tasks. That's something you do along the semester. And now at this part of the semester, we have the reflective video 1. Here again, we already did one task that was the first reflection. I gave you feedback. Now you make the corrections and adjustments. Yes, for example, think if you have, or you can improve it more or change some words, the way you have written. You have different kinds of suggestions. Then you will upload by tonight, the second version. I think Genesis, you sent me a second version, but I would prefer that you upload it tonight so I am not lost with the different weeks. So sometimes I lose track. But tonight, this afternoon, yes, this evening, you can upload the second version. The new is the second version, and then you will be in the position of start second version. Start recording. Yes, Araceli.
Okay, Miss.
Yes, thank you. Araceli, you had the suggestion of a program that was KineMaster. I was explaining the girls. It's just kinemaster.com, and that's one of the video programs that you can use to edit the video. You send it via chat, Araceli. Can you send
the feedback, Miss?
No, the KineMaster, the website.
Sorry, Miss. I have a headache.
A headache? No, it's okay. It's okay. Don't worry. Have some water. We have a list.
Yes,
so I hope you can listen. Adjustments. Okay, I cannot get this word right. Okay, just okay. Adjustments. Okay, but somehow it doesn't recognize the word. Okay, so the idea is that you can publish it in different, using different videos. You have also YouTube, it's YouTube channel also has the possibility to edit it, to edit the video. And KineMaster, the one I suggested, Araceli shares the website. Okay, any questions in regards this video? So you are already in the last section of preparing your video. So the second version with corrections, and then next week you only have to record it. And remember, you have to take turns to speak. Any questions? No? Is that okay? Are you okay with this?
In our case, we need to work together with Lucas and Javiera.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yes, yes. The people working together. Yes. You are three, you are the only three, the group of three. Then the others are pairs. So you take turns to do the speaking. It doesn't have to be too long. And then what you wrote is okay in the length, let's say. It's only I just wrote new suggestions, I organized sentences in a better way, some other vocabulary. Then there is something we need to come to an agreement. That is the name of the program. So I decided, so there are different names that can be the names of the program in English, but I took one decision, made a decision when I was correcting. And I think this is a good choice because we had different options. But we can agree on elementary school education program. So everyone writes the same. I can copy the same. So everyone writes the same name. Okay, the same name. The program has the same name for everyone. Elementary school education program. So this is a little bit. This is dark. Okay. So elementary school education program. So we agree that that's the name of our program in English. Pedagogía en Educación General Básica will be this one, Elementary School Education Program. And I also gave a name to the parvularia. Educación parvularia is Early Childhood Education Program. So sometimes we have different names, or the girls were also accustomed to another name, but just to unify the names in English. This is something we haven't thought of before. Probably the other professors had other names as well. Okay, do we all agree then with the recording? Yes, you need to organize yourselves together with a pair, and then you edit it. You also have the front page, the cover page. Have you seen? I sent you via email, but I also sent it through Educandos. So there is a page I did for you. So this is English practicum, reflective video in pairs. You write your names, mentor, teacher, Utalca supervisor. So guide teacher does not exist in English. So in English, there's only the figure of the mentor. And the mentor can mean many things. It's used also in higher education among professors. Professors and students, students and students also. Mentor, the idea of the mentor is very wide, but there is no idea of guide. A supervisor is, of course, a professor in the authority of grading, let us say, which is not so much the vision of the mentor, yes. But of course, we know your mentor teachers will also be collaborating to your final grade, that percentage in which they also participate in your grading. Okay, any other questions? Any other questions in this regard?
Please.
Yeah. Mhm.
So we must send you the second version,
The second version.
of the.
Mhm.
Okay.
And I will give you feedback, and then you have the whole next week before uploading it to Educandos. And again, I need to think whether it is possible to upload it to a task or to a forum. But I will let you know. Yes, I will let you know. So next Friday, we will be talking how to upload it to Educandos. So then I have a week and I have to upload this grade. So this is the first information about your grades, official information about your grades so far. Okay, so up to now, up to here with these evaluations. So now it's reflection time about the practicum. So I have started to see you in different kinds of performances. I have seen you before. I have seen the classes. I love the children are really very, very spontaneous, full of energy. They are all the time very participative, of course, depending on the age. And if you were available to see different classes, you will see how they differ from age to age. So the most participative are the younger ones, 4th, 5th grade. 6th grade is okay. 7th grade is a little bit different. They are very participative anyway, but a little bit more reluctant. And of course, we know that the older they get, the less they want to participate, the less spontaneous they are. They are ashamed of turning on the cameras. Well, other problems with pre-adolescents and adolescents that you might imagine. But nevertheless, the grades you're working with are really receptive. They are nice, they like what they do, they try to participate as much as possible. So I really like that environment. It made me remember when I was in elementary school and how receptive and how noisy the kids were, and how you were all the time aware of their existence and their presence around us, and with their noise, with their spontaneity, which is not anymore present once you change your job, or now in this medium. So it's nice those mornings in which I am connected to the classes and I can remember school time. And I think it's a great opportunity as well. So you keep on with your reports. I have talked to all of the professors, all of the teachers. They know that you will be evaluated with guidelines that imply certain kind of performance. Therefore, we talked that, well, the performance will be evaluated, whether it's interventions, some activities, some classes, complete classes, or videos, right? So it's not only that you have to plan. So they are aware of that, the weeks that we have left, and the time, the deadline for us to finish that grading, which is in the week of the 21st of June. And it is down here, that is reminded you to you here. So in this week of June, you will be receiving grades. Yes, so you have the mentor teachers and also this is the mentor teacher and the academician. So you will receive both. Now, as you're doing your interventions, you receive my feedback. So I really recommend you to read and reflect about this document and the guidelines. There are certain items here that I have already written as a reflection for the students, observed with some ideas right? With some ideas in regards how you conduct the class, and also how can you manage techniques to check, for example, check students' understanding, whether it's not a formal evaluation, but it's just an ongoing evaluation, formative evaluation. I have also given you that feedback in the lesson plans. So far, that's what I have seen, and there's a recommendation for all of us, for all of you, to check. The rest, you do very well, which is motivate the children, have the materials ready. You with all of those items, you fulfill very well. But then we also need to think by the end of the class, how can we use checklists with them, check what they have learned in that class, even if it is very short and we get to practice vocabulary. So that's as a general recommendation. But then it's also good that you see every item here, and you're aware of what to pay attention to. So one thing is that and then another topic that we need to discuss today is planning as well. Okay, general reflections. So as I said, I have taken advantage of the time and talked to the professors, the teachers, the mentor teachers, so that they are all aware of this evaluative event and the need you have to make these interventions. And therefore, we need their guidance with planning, for example. Apart from that, you will also do the planning for your interventions. But also you need to follow the topics that had already been planned by the teachers for the schools. So anything you have been that has been different in this last week that you want to share? Some reflections. So I read your reflections in general in your scripts. They are very good. We reflected together last week as well about online education and how different it is, or beneficial or not so beneficial for children, what you have learned from it. And that's very rich reflection. So I would like to congratulate you for that. Your reflections are deep. You're able even to give recommendations. This should be done this way, this should be done that way. And that also shows maturity and deep process of reflection. So that's good on your side. You have done this well. So again, some reflections that you have in your work with your mentor teachers so far. Anyone would like to start? Camila. Okay. Anyone? Araceli? What have you agreed with your teacher? Remember, Araceli has a special case in practicum. They don't have synchronous classes, and so they have had different.
Teacher, I don't hear you. My connection. Can you repeat, please?
Yes. Yes. What is your which will be your organization with your mentor teacher for your
in this week?
Yes.
Yeah. We must record a video explaining the simple past and the use of the auxiliary do and does.
Explaining the simple present.
Simple. Okay. Present.
And auxiliary, yes, verbs. Okay, and auxiliary verbs. And I think you know more than you do know more about this than you are aware of. But if you have problems in explaining something about grammar, of course you can contact me. Yes.
Yes, it's for reinforcement. The children.
Reinforcement, exactly. And so you know that this so that you can go beyond from simply teaching vocabulary, to teaching some revising some structures. But don't feel
Yes.
overwhelmed with grammar. This is also a general recommendation you have. You can contact me. You can also find materials to support this, to support your teaching, your explanation online. And so today it's easier to find resources. And you know this, probably you do know, you haven't practiced so much with the structures, but you know structures for sure. And it's only the next step in which you are going to help others learn the structures. By that, I also support the idea that we need to have some kind of formality in learning grammar, but that's also a project for the future to have applied grammar modules to help with this reflection of, it's not only learning the structure, but also how to process the reflection of those, how to process a reflection on those structures to be able to teach them. So that would be an interesting thing to develop for the future. We haven't developed it completely yet. Okay, but that's a need. That's necessary. Okay, Genesis and Griselda, would you like to share your experiences? What has your experience been like last week?
We don't have nothing. We will be observing the class. That's all.
Next class?
Yes, we don't have nothing.
But remember that you were preparing the next class as well? Did I understand?
Miss, in 2 weeks more, we will be supporting the exam, but nothing else.
2 more weeks, you will be supporting. Okay, pay attention, because we have agreed that you were going to have an intervention ideally every week, but they are keep connected. Anyway, you know, every week we start connecting with the teachers again. But last week you had a good intervention. Anyway, Griselda, how did you feel?
Yes, we did a whole class. It was great.
Yes, it was great. Yes. The complete class, and they have a 7th grade, which were very cooperative and participative. And that's also a good feeling when the students really respond and they are participative. That was great. Yes. Barbara?
This week,
Yes.
we worked with 5th grade, and we start with the unit 2, the place where I live, and with Javiera and Lucas work together for develop a class for the students, and we enjoyed the experience. It was so funny. And we also in 6th grade, we have a little intervention in both activities that the teacher make, and with Lucas make he start with the vocabulary of health problems, and yes, and me and I make the activity of the center. The middle activity, yes. And this next week we also continued with the unit 2, and we work in prepare the next class, and in sixth grade, I don't know, we still continue was not will continue with the same topic.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. Okay, yes, great for having your opportunities to participate, to intervene. So that's great, even when there are different levels of participation. And so you should feel accomplished that you can do it, you have great ideas. And even when they are different interventions, they're valuable and teach you a lot about how your life in the future could be like, and the life of and the real life of work can look like. And it's changing all the time. You have new challenges every week, and so that's good to get accustomed to that. Having a glimpse, una visión, aunque sea corta, a glimpse of that. Okay, Daniela and Camila. Is Camila here? Daniela?
Yes, I'm
Camila?
here.
Yes. So what is your...
This week in the class, we only observing.
Observe.
Yeah, observe, yes. Because the teacher showed a guide for the children,
Mhm.
and we just help to the teacher in the chat.
Yes. But then you will also be able to intervene, following up on this topic they have just started. And these kids are really participative, very sweet. And
Yes.
the teacher told us, they ask about you whenever you're not able to connect or something like that. They ask about you.
Yes.
So they are so kind. They are really kind children. All of them are in different ways, but really you need to feel energetic after being with these children because they're really motivated. So we only serve class, but be careful. Interventions will come. Interventions will come.
So, yeah. And also we you tell me that the teacher sent something for us for make planning.
Yes.
But
To ask me.
yesterday le hablamos y todavía no responde.
No, okay. Yeah, we know he has bad connection as well, but on Monday we catch up with asking for some planning. Yes, and
Yes.
the topic they are dealing with at this moment is the city.
Yes.
So yes, planning
Ah,
will
sí.
come. But that's the topic for the time being. And we have a Eileen. Is she here? No, Daniela is not. Eileen.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, Eileen, what have you been doing?
This week we just observed because they need to review a test and replace the hour because they have problems to see the hour. And for the next week, we need to prepare material for explain the hour again, but just one part in past, I think. And do a homework in a student book.
Yes. Okay. So you will prepare explanation about telling the time, which is a concept children really have problems in grasping. So we used to teach that in 5th grade, and it was difficult for children to get accustomed to the clock and the different ways of observing and telling the time. And traditionally, the books taught also the traditional way of saying, so o'clock, 30:30, and that was very, very difficult. So then with the digital clocks, that was solved because they only need to read the numbers. So yes, teaching the time is a concept. Is the whole concept is hard, the clock, the round clock, and the
Yes, it's difficult, and also they don't know the numbers because I see problems sometimes to count 1 at 10. They have problems with that.
yes, yes, exactly. And also they probably do not know very well in Spanish either. So little children have time in having idea of the time, managing the time, being aware of the time, and they're very concrete. So I think, yes, it's a challenging topic. It's generally taught 5th, 6th grade, but still it's a concept difficult to grasp. And say it in English is another complication. So you will prepare materials for revision, yes, and also revise vocabulary, and sometimes we just focus on revising some vocabulary. And I think that they know the numbers is fundamental, of course. But then these ideas of quarter, half past, is not so easy for children. Okay, so there is one more thing. The feature is Eileen and Alejandra. I want to remind you, I have to send this to Professor Karen. So I need you to contact Professor Francis immediately to have this.
Yes, actually, we sent a message. Sorry.
Okay, okay.
Yes, last week and this week, so we are waiting for some answers.
Okay. We can remind her this afternoon so that she has it for Monday. That would be great. Sometimes we have to remind them. Remember, they're also in the middle of hectic times, and therefore we are all trying to get some time from nowhere, really. Okay, so last Friday, and I want to have more time for this, for planning. And I want to remind you that in my old times, planning was done by hand. They were handwritten. And I remember a classmate of mine in college, she started teaching when we were in 4th, 5th year. And she had just as a private institute with children. And she had to write by hand every lesson plan since she got into the classroom until she left the classroom. Everything needed to be written there by hand. So imagine the time-consuming process that planning was. So I wanted to, I found this picture and I wanted you to have an idea of what it was to plan by handwriting everything, as every little detail. But for you to understand, planning is really serious and sensitive problem, or not a problem, an issue of great importance and sensitivity. And it's something we do progressively. You learned it in different modules. You learn about that, and you need to know the curriculum, yes, and the instruments and pedagogical proposals. So this is asked by us by the standards, but also you are taught in this respect also in different modules. So you have different knowledge, previous knowledge, but you also have some ideas, some knowledge and some ideas, assumptions. So what does it come to your head when you hear lesson planning? It's more that what we know from the theory, or what we know from practice, let us say, from experience. Lesson planning. Oh, we have to plan. We're going to plan. What do you think when you are told this?
Organize.
Organization, yes. So as you can see, as you can predict, your next task will be about lesson planning. So a deeper analysis of what we have been doing last year, So now we are at a point of organization, of reflecting in a deeper way about planning. So organization is one idea that comes to our heads. What else? Even if it is a phrase, it can be a phrase as well, one word.
Objectives.
Objectives, ah, yes, one of my favorite topics. We have an activity with objectives today.
The lesson planning give I don't know how to say this word, give us the succession of activities, succession, I don't know, una sucesión, una secuencia of the activity that we will develop around to.
Yes, organization, succession of activities, or correlation of activities. It's not correlation, it's, yes, it's one after the other. That's what you want to say. We will check how it is correctly written. Succession, yes, of activities.
Also, through the lesson plan, we can optimize the time of class.
Yes, exactly. Optimize the time. Yes, exactly. And luckily, we need to know what to do every minute, since we don't have, plenty of time, and less about that when doing it online. We have shorter period of attention. Even with adults, we can lose our attention very quickly, and we have other demands from our surroundings as well. So yes, all of this is true. We think we need to think of in different ways, just to have everything there ready to use, and that is enlightening for us. That gives us light on what we are doing. So it needs to be useful for our task, for our everyday life task. And sometimes planning is just filling in these papers as a requirement, but they are not really meaningful. And so we need to be careful with that feeling that we're doing something that is not useful. Therefore, you had some modules that talk to you about planning. So when we were doing creación, creating an environment, it was just the very beginning. We planned an activity, remember? So it was, yes, up to this moment, you're also in the position probably of planning one activity, probably, not a whole class, but one activity with your mentor teachers. So that was like the beginning. And then facilitación, also facilitating, and planificación y manejo de curso, when you planned in Spanish. Did you also plan in other modules? ¿Otros módulos también planificaban?
Yes, in each one of modules, we needed planificate in some moment.
So
this Monday, we planificamos in math.
In math,
Yes.
Almost, so this is a good reflection. We planned in almost every module. Yes, for example, yes, last Monday.
Yes, last Monday.
We planned in math, yes. And you have been in math. So probably you saw the new lesson plan that the program has rewritten, and we have it in English. I showed it to you last class. It is on Educando, so everything we planned, we will plan there. It's a revision of the previous year's plan, and it's shorter. I find this shorter, though we still have to include some topics as the objectives, which is a critical area of planning. And we will see now more about objectives. What is a critical area, but very necessary one, and we need to revise every time we talk about this. So why do you think it is relevant to divide the class into 3 moments? And we have kept this also from other subjects in elementary school. Why do we have moments?
Because it needs to be a structure. And in that way, we will be working on the things in the correct moment, like at the beginning, an activity to like warm up. And then we put in practice the content and make some tasks. And finally, something like metacognition to make a feedback.
Round up the topic, para redondear el tema. We have the warm-up. Yes, exactly. We have the warm-up section. Prepare. The revision section as well. Then in the middle, you have the development.
Yes.
Yes. And by the end, this is a roundup, una forma de redondear, dar una conclusión. Then we have development, and finally, a metacognitive roundup activity. For example. All of this gives us structure. Yes, it is good to have structure so we don't leave elements out. We include everything that is necessary. Also give a meaningful structure so that students can also learn and follow up this structure and make sense of what we are doing. And this is, yes, common sense, but sometimes, yes, it's not always common sense. We need to be sure on how to develop the order of these activities. And what do you think is different or the same in online classes about this organization?
The participation of the students, because in this like this I don't know, in class, online class, they have not instance for say everything that he wants, they want to say, yeah. And in the different, no, a diferencia, to difference that?
Different from
presential class where they can, yes, they can share their ideas or share or make conversation with their classmates and reinforce their knowledge with other persons. But here in online class, they only have their self to their self, ellos mismos.
Yes, they have themselves, and they don't have this presence with other people. Yes, one of the things. Also, the organization sometimes needs to be a little bit different, shorter periods, because of this, because with children it's difficult to keep their attention and their participation. So participation is different, but also from the point of view of structure, according to structure, the time allotted to the different sections need to be revised. So that is one of the, so you keep on thinking of differences to this traditional organization.
However, it is a good experience.
Yes, Yes, of course. Yes, of course, it's great. Is a little bit different. Yes, a little bit different, and you might have noticed this. Different. If I think of my first observation of a class of a student in the career for secondary school English teachers, when he had a whole class of 90 minutes with 7th graders, and now we only have 40, 50 minutes with 7th graders. So it's less, 40 minutes probably. So it's a real world of difference of what we were capable of doing in those times and what we can do today. It's not the same, it shouldn't be the same, and probably it's not the idea that they are the same, but for us to think on how we need to convey all these moments and all these activities, but in a comprised manner. Yes, the experience, of course, will always be positive because it's a learning experience. And this is a position you need to always think that everything that is a learning opportunity is something positive. So apart from different kinds of drawbacks that we can have, yes, other situations. So then we will explain the written task. Now, this is not going to be in your written task. This is only to be done here in class. And it refers to learning objectives and Bloom's taxonomy. And yesterday I inspired myself because we did this activity a year and a half before. And because of Bloom's taxonomy that we were also revising because of the questions yesterday. So I thought this is a good material to share with you, to do listening, but also to think of the verbs that we can use and how can we improve the use of verbs by means of using a support document like Bloom's taxonomy. And so we will watch the video. Sorry, you check your emails. In your emails, you have the supporting materials and you have the task.
Miss, I was looking for the
Let me check. So the page looks like this. No, this is the task. Sorry. So it says listening activity. Is this one?
I was at Educandus.
No. I sent you via email. I sent you the email. I will. So this is only to work here in class. It's classwork, and I need you to check. We will do. So we have a word bank here with words that will be phrases to complete this speaking. This course here. Then we have a reference to the levels of thinking and verbs used according to Bloom's taxonomy. Yes. Another piece of discourse and examples of explained in the video. Then you will have a wheel. I also sent you the wheel, which is very useful. We will analyze it. It's very useful. And final recommendations about writing objectives. These are general learning objectives. Then we will discuss about language objectives, which are a little bit different, but this framework is very useful for you to think of the verbs that you need to use and how you think of writing good objectives. So it was good, Camila, that you mentioned the topic of objectives because it's a sensitive one. It's really important and sometimes we don't give it so much attention. So the first section you will have to complete with these phrases and words: lower order, graphic, action verbs, Bloom's taxonomy, thinking, classifying, learning, or learning objectives, or prerequisite, higher order.
Profesora, ¿eso lo envió al Gmail?
Hey, yes.
Es que yo tengo 2 archivos, pero ninguno de esos.
Sí, una es ficha de seguimiento y el otro es algo de un PDF.
Una ruleta.
Yes, that one. Yeah, in that one. You didn't
No, there's
read
no.
a Word document?
Dice ficha de seguimiento. Yo creo
Yes.
que se equivocó de archivo.
You didn't
profe,
say
también me
that.
sale lo mismo.
Sorry. Probably if it just. Oh, all right. Sorry about that. Sorry. I was. Oh, yes, fecha seguimiento. Sorry. Now we will solve the problem. So in general, the task starts talking about this development, the development of this taxonomy used a lot in education and other areas, just to help us think of getting towards deeper levels of critical thinking, and that is related to what we were seeing yesterday, since we need to get to deeper levels of critical thinking when reading academic texts. Also, as teachers, we also have to manage the depth of critical thinking of our students. And therefore, when we establish our objectives, we have to think in those terms. That is why it was very ad hoc to revise now, and for you now that you need to plan so that you think of the best possible objectives you can to the best possible ways to understand. Yes, so what do you prefer? We have good connections, since I see you're all connected, but I need to get my so it's a little bit long video, but we can watch it. Please go through reading the document so you can ask questions. And then we separate in groups, in pairs, and you work there, and we go to the bathroom as well. Yes, we will organize that way.
Yes,
Did you
miss.
follow? Okay, so this is very much related, again, make these connections to what we were seeing yesterday when we saw the verbs in the questions. So the more deeper I want my students or myself to think, I have to think of these higher order thinking levels in Bloom's taxonomy that can be very helpful. Okay, so we continue with the next section of the video. Okay, I'm back.
Their taxonomies, Bloom's is hierarchical and begins with lower order thinking skills to higher order thinking skills. Bloom's infers that learning at the higher levels is dependent upon having attained prerequisite knowledge and skills at lower levels. You will often see Bloom's taxonomy displayed as a pyramid graphic like the one you see here to help demonstrate the hierarchy. So let's examine how the hierarchical nature of Bloom's taxonomy relates to course design and how a student will learn the concepts in your course. As we've just learned, Bloom's classifies learning from lower order to higher order, and each category of learning builds upon the other. To further clarify this concept, it can be said that before you can understand a concept, you must remember it. To apply a concept, you must understand it. In order to evaluate a concept, you must have analyzed it. And to create an accurate conclusion, you must have completed a thorough evaluation. As you introduce new concepts to students, they will need to understand, remember, and apply the concepts to move forward to the higher order skills, such as analyzing, evaluating, and creating. So as you begin to think about the design of your course, you should first consider the complexity of your content, as well as the learning level of your students, to determine where the majority of the learning should fall. Lower level or introductory courses introduce a variety of skills and new concepts, and therefore have a majority of the learning objectives fall within the lower order thinking skills. Advanced courses often assume that the student comes prepared with the foundational knowledge, and they are now ready to use this knowledge to move on to higher order of thinking and learning, and therefore should contain learning objectives that focus on higher order skills. This is not to say that an introductory course will only accomplish the lower domain. and an advanced course will only accomplish the higher order domain. In fact, every course should have a variety of objectives from each domain. However, how many of the objectives that fall within the lower or higher domains is often dependent upon the content and the level of mastery that the student is expected to achieve. To help instructors select verbs for their learning objectives, we've created what we'd like to call a Bloom's Wheel that contains the levels of Bloom's taxonomy, associated verbs that pertain to each level, and some suggestions of activities that are associated with each level. You can download your own Bloom's Wheel at the link shown on the screen. I'll be showing you how to use it in just a bit. And now that we understand Bloom's taxonomy, let's use what we've learned to construct a measurable learning objective.
Okay, so we'll stop here. And here we will have a step-by-step suggestion on how to write a learning objective. We are here in the second, yes, by going from a stem sentence, which is the beginning of the sentence, by thinking of the learning outcome, and then how we select the verb and the content to be learned, yes. So little by little, you will be able to write a complete objective. And this is also important, not only because of English objectives that we have to create ourselves, but also because for each lesson, each class, you need to break down in pieces a larger objective that we have in the curriculum priorizado, for example. We need to break down the general learning outcome. Yes, ese objetivo general de logro al final de la unidad into smaller pieces. That is why we need to pay attention to this way of organizing objectives, because you will be responsible for both objectives. For these learning general objectives in your class within the unit, and also you will be responsible for the language learning objective in that class. That is why it is useful to see little by little how to do this, and this video will help us, will show us, and then you will rewatch it and do it again in your sheets, in your tasks, classwork tasks. Okay, let us continue.
First, you should start with a STEM sentence. All learning objectives contain a STEM sentence. They are most often written as the STEM sentence with a bulleted list of objectives that follow the STEM. For your course modules, you may want to use the STEM. After completing this module, you will be able to. Next, determine the learning outcome. Think about what it is that you want the students to be able to do, and then think about how you will know that they understand what you've taught them. What is the outcome or product that they will do or produce that demonstrates that they've mastered the concept? I'll use this particular presentation as an example. When designing this video, I identified that I wanted the participants to know the 6 levels of Bloom's taxonomy. I then asked myself, how will I be able to determine that the learners understand Bloom's taxonomy? What can they do to demonstrate that they've mastered this concept? From this point, we'll move on to step 3. Consult the Bloom's Wheel to determine the appropriate level of learning and select an appropriate verb that reflects exactly what you want the learners to do. So let's take a look at the Bloom's Wheel. I'll note that this helpful tool is available to you online. Simply point your browser to ep.jhu.edu/Blooms, and you'll be able to download a PDF of this tool. Okay, back to the wheel. We'll see that the wheel contains 6 levels of learning, or cognitive domains, in the center. Suggested measurable action verbs for each domain, and a few examples of learning activities and assessments that fall within each domain. You should use your Bloom's Wheel to help you select verbs, activities, and assessments for your course. However, it is important to note that the suggested verbs are not all-inclusive, and you should feel free to use other verbs that you may think of if they better describe the action your student will be performing. Now, let's refer back to my example of trying to determine how I will know that my learners understand the 6 levels of Bloom's taxonomy. Note that I use the word understand, but I will not include this in my objective as it is far too vague and therefore not easy to measure or assess. We want our learning objectives to be targeted and more descriptive so that we are able to assess the outcome of the learner's performance. When thinking of
Okay, can you see me? Could you hear? Okay, we finished the video.
my scenario, I first consider the fact that the introduction of Bloom's taxonomy is, for the most part, foundational knowledge, and most likely a new concept for my learners. Therefore, I can determine that I'll want the objective to fall within the lower order domains, but I know that I want my learners to be able to remember the 6 categories of Bloom's, understand how they apply to learning, and demonstrate that they can apply this knowledge to eventually be used in their own course design. This brings me up to the application level. I then think about an activity that will provide me with a way to measure whether or not my learners can do these things. After looking at the suggested activities and verbs, I decide that I will have them classify learning objectives within the 6 levels of Bloom's taxonomy. This will demonstrate that they not only know the levels, but that they can both understand and apply this knowledge. Okay, so we are now ready to move on to step 4, which is to write out our actual learning objective. Classify learning objectives within the 6 cognitive domains of Bloom's taxonomy. We now have a student-centered, measurable learning objective that we can later use to design an activity, assessment, and related teaching strategies to be associated with this objective. For example, I could develop a learning objective classification activity that participants would complete after they view this presentation. After this, I'm ready to move on to designing my next objective for this module using the same process. Now that we've learned how to use Bloom's taxonomy to help us write learning objectives, and as you work through developing a course design matrix for your course, you should strive to write strong learning objectives. As we learned in the other video on course and learning objectives are measurable, observable statements of what students will be able to do at the end of a unit of learning. So, with this in mind, it is important to emphasize that strong learning objectives do not include vague or immeasurable terms. Terms like understand, know, appreciate, become familiar with, learn, and be aware of are much too vague and almost impossible to assess. Use the Bloom's wheel provided to you to help you select strong action verbs that will describe exactly what the learner will do. This will help to ensure that you are writing specific, measurable, and observable objectives that will provide a solid foundation for your course design. This concludes this video. Thanks for watching.
Okay, so much of this we have already discussed. Yes, sorry, sir. Sorry. So we are here back again. Hopefully you are there. So there is something I would like to share with you. So before we forget, so you will have time to finish this step-by-step way of producing an objective. Yes, and always remember that the objective needs to be learner-centered. What is the student going to learn? What is the student going to do? It needs to be measurable. So I have to be able to measure. That's why we need verbs of action. And of course, from there, you can design activities and also assessment, evaluation activities, and use all the strategies which are related to that. So this is the wheel that you have it. Yes, and something that they say very emphatic, and I have also repeated very emphatically, do not include verbs like understand, know, appreciate, become familiar, be aware, because they are not measurable. I cannot measure, I cannot see the performance. Whereas they say we need to use verbs that describe exactly what the learner will do, and therefore, which are these specific, measurable, and observable verbs? Which verbs can I use? And we can add them here because then you also, we have the same similar reflection in the PPT. Which verbs are measurable, observable, instead of understanding, understand? What can I use? Or we will, we can write them here. But any ideas? Which is an observable verb? We cannot use understand because I cannot observe the action. Which action can I observe?
Compare.
Compare, yes. And before compare, to see that the student has understood, yes, compare is one. And before? We have used
Correcting.
Identify could be, identify, and you have used this. Identify at a very lower level, yes, identify. Compare, yes, we can use those. Appreciate, become familiar, no, we cannot use this. But we can say identify, something similar to identify or become familiar.
Definition.
Define.
Maybe.
Define. They are verbs. Verbs. Yes, exactly. Define. Definir. Shown. La terminación shown.
Okay.
Subject. Es a noun, un sustantivo. So define. Yes, identify. Define. What else can I observe going up in the taxonomy? At the level of application, you have compare. Yes, compare at the level of application. So we can use it here. And then at the point of analyzing, what can I use? It's very easy. Any other that is observable? Analyzing, evaluating, and creating. In those levels? What can it be? Come on, something we do. We are going to do in the other module. In introduction, what do we do there? One of the
Applying. Or no?
apply, yes.
Applying.
Yes, apply.
Understanding.
Yes, and
Develop.
develop, yes, develop the process of, and finally, research. Do you like it? Yes, so those are higher order, yes. So we need the students to be able to do all of this, yes. Compare, apply, develop something, research are at the level of application. So you're making them do something. Analyze, go through parts, yes. Then it will be analyze, which is the obvious one. Separate into parts. And then create something, evaluate, of course. Evaluate, and instead of saying create, what can you say? Another verb similar to create. When you have to do the infographic, you're creating. You're putting together knowledge. What else are you doing? Another verb for create?
Can be observed.
Ah, yes, but observe goes here. We go back to the beginning. We are at the level of creating. Instead of create, in Spanish, crear, ¿qué puede ser un sinónimo?
Diseñar, pero no sé cómo se dice. Design.
Excellent, Camila. Design. I was thinking of the same. Diseñar. Design. Excellent. Excellent. So now you see how to use and how to think, and then you have the will to help you every time you go out of verbs. Excellent. Excellent work, girls. Excellent, excellent. I am proud of you. You did understand very well. Therefore, when we talked and we said about this about objectives, we know that we need to describe this learning outcome. ¿Cuál es este aprendizaje final? And therefore, we write objectives because they give us guidance in the selection of activities. That's what also John Hopkins says. Direction, organization, yes, and evaluation. So guidance in evaluation. So everything we're going to do is dictated by means of the objectives. So whenever you have to write the general objective, go back to these verbs and think again, how are you going to do that? And therefore we have here some examples that we already did last year. So you were very good in thinking all of those, right? And the ones we cannot observe, quantify, or measure. No se pueden medir ni cuantificar, which are these ones. Remember that when we were doing language lessons or activities or classes, objectives, we needed to pay attention to different areas in this structure. So we need to pay attention to functions, which are the verbs of action, yes. Then the content is something that they're going to learn, and you're working with content because you work with parts of the body, parts of the house, sickness, food, the city. So you are working with different contents, plus a content related to language, because here we are not learning only the content, we are learning English language. And for that, I need some aspect of the language I am going to focus. So we had these excellent examples from last year. Remember, describe the 3 states of water using the present simple. So I can imagine a class together with Professora Paulina, for example, doing the states of water. So water melts at such and such degree and becomes water and then solidifies with cold weather, blah, blah, blah. Yes, so those are the states of water and explained using the present simple, with the verbs in the present simple. Also, something we could do is present the members of the family. So we have an action verb, content, using vocabulary, because we also can refer to lexicon. What is that they are going to learn? And we are doing a lot of lexicon in online classes nowadays. So we're teaching a lot of vocabulary that's specific. Yes, so use that in your objectives. Also, we said we could use the skills. And this was very much used also in the United States when English language learners were learning the content, specific area in language, and also practicing a skill, whether it is oral, whether it's writing, what is that the students are going to do. And if you think you have this in your classes, yes, Barbara, Javier, and Lucas presented a class in which students had to express, repeat the vocabulary orally. They also had to do it in writing, both of them. So they presented parts of the house using vocabulary in orally and writing, and in writing. For example, just to give one example of this week, yeah, very, very nearby. Okay, let us do at least 2 objectives together. So I am sure you know how to do this practice, because we need this. We absolutely need this for your lesson plans. So for your future classes, any objective that we need to think together for a future class. Who would like to practice first? Araceli. So we have the structure. Who would like to say first? Araceli,
Yes, Miss.
one objective that you would like to share from your future classes?
Explain, maybe.
Explain, yes. Content,
The part of body.
parts of the body. Explain parts of the body. By which means or by doing what? Using which structure or vocabulary? Lexicon is vocabulary.
Specific, using a specific vocabulary.
Using specific vocabulary in English.
In English.
In English, orally, for example. Araceli doesn't want the students to write. She's going to send a video and students will reply by sending a video using oral language. Yes, excellent. It's simple. So it's simple when we are thinking very hard and doing together. Then also apply this to your plans. This is what you're expected to do. Okay, another one would like to share. Any other one? Any other person? Liselda, Barbara? An objective for your classes?
Describe what you did on Sunday.
Describe Sunday activities.
Yes, I mean, what you did on Sunday. Yes, which activities?
Yes, because it's content, yes. And now comes this section you want to mention. By using what are you going to use to describe activities last Sunday? Done last Sunday. Last Sunday's activity by using
verbs in English.
But there is something else that you already implied it. You implied, but now you need to say by using verbs in a specific tense, in the simple. Yes?
Yes.
Yes, exactly. This is what you were doing. So think, Liselda, puede ser como tramposo. Estábamos pensando en los verbos en pasado, pero no los íbamos a decir aquí, sino los estabas diciendo aquí, en el contenido. Can you see?
Yes.
So sometimes think twice or write it down and see. Are you putting in each section the elements of that section? Because sometimes you can mix. So I can write the verbs here, and so, but I am missing I will miss the grammar. You see, it depends on how you organize it. Organize it in this way. Then when you become more accustomed to writing them, then you can change the order. It's not mandatory that you follow an order, but I am teaching you some kind of order just for you to think of the elements, so nothing is missing. But yes, you can alter the order. Only think that at this stage, you need to be very careful that you don't forget the details. Yes, and that you just because you put details somewhere else, you are misplacing or forgetting something. Okay, excellent so far. Barbara, Javiera.
Maybe identify
Content.
Identify parts of the house, the parts of the house.
Yes, that's the content. Yeah. Perfect. parts of the house. Now we need the language element.
Using maybe it's no.
Yes, yes, there to do
I
it.
think it in the example of the Araceli.
Yes. Use a specific vocabulary, yeah?
Yes.
Yes, exactly, because you're identifying, yes.
Yes.
Solo identificando. Okay, use a specific vocabulary in English, orally, or in writing. In English, okay, I will in writing, just to do it differently. Yes, and this can be an objective that students in this class will practice, mainly writing. Yes, so Lucas has a simple present. Yes, exactly. Lucas has another example. Yes, with here, Lucas shares his example. Yes, excellent. So we clicked. So every time you're going to write, and in the lesson plan in English, you have both the learning objectives that are the general unit objectives using the verbs of action, similar verbs, and the general outcome knowledge. And then you have the language specific objectives. So identify home routines, perfect. Home routines using the simple present tense. Yes, the simple present tense, perfect. So I wash the dishes, yeah, I clean my bedroom, and I think Eileen and Alejandra were doing at a certain point revision with their students about routines. Yeah, so I play the recorder, or she plays the recorder, cleans the house, something like that. So similar to this, to routines. Okay, so you got the idea. Do not forget it. You have a doubt, come back to this these exercises. They will be there for you, always available. So for just before finishing, just very quickly, remember, you will be, no, this is extra. So you will be writing your activity plan or your lesson plan. Yes, once you did last class, I have already given feedback. Make some corrections. If you haven't done it, do it today. Yes, so I need to see Liselda's and Genesis, Araceli's, Javier's, Alejandra, and Alejandra's, Eileen's, Daniela, and Camila. Remember, is this lesson plan I uploaded last week in red. Yes, it has these red sections, which is different from last year's. That's for you to bear in mind. It is shorter, you have less columns to fill, so that's good. That's a good thing. And remember, every lesson plan that you finish, even if it is for one activity, will go to your portfolio and will be part of your complete portfolio. Is that clear? With this for
we will have to upload it to Educandos also?
Yes, Educandos. Exactly. Now, when I finish a class, I create that task to upload lesson plans. And for the rest of your task, number 4, we have already some sections completed. The rest of the section is reading a website. You will have it's a chapter by Farrell, which is very clear on lesson planning. It helps you reflect on different sections of the plan. It also helps you be able to recognize some elements that are important about the lesson plan and why it is important. Okay, so that's the lesson, the document, task document 4 is mainly about writing. reading, writing. So that's why we did the listening to now in class. And you will be completing that listening activity as well for you to complete if, in case you have any doubts. And what else? And this task will also be included in the portfolio for week 10, yes, for the midterm revision. Okay, I will check with you this task, just in case anything is missing or you don't understand, and we write the agreements. So you have several things also to try to accomplish today to receive feedback. Yes. Okay, so this is task 4. We did this brainstorming together, so you already have it. We did these questions together. Then you have the reading, yes, this chapter reading, which is short. This is a chart which you cannot read on the page. Therefore, I copied it here. Yes, with activities you do in different sections of the class. Entonces, entienden, este cuadro está aquí porque no se puede leer bien en el website. No sale bien el cuadro, but this is the chart. Okay, so that's information there. Questions, some extra reading materials. You have the wheel, yes. And the post-watching, I have to write this, is writing your lesson plan or your activity plan, your intervention plan, and sharing for feedback. So yes, I have to write that before uploading, but it's very simple. This is something you need to learn how to do by doing. There's no other way we can improve in writing, in planning without doing it. And remember, the more you do, the more the easier it will be for you to go next semester to Práctica Intensiva 1 and be able to plan without spending hours on end and being really productive, because you will have this practice in different modules, even in English. And you will remember the objectives and you will be very precise when doing so. Okay, so I hope to see your lesson plans tomorrow early morning at the latest. And now our time for reflection. What did we learn today? One thing? Two things? We learned? Something?
Bloom's
Miss?
taxonomy.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, this is very useful.
Miss, you cannot share your screen
Okay.
or the presentation. Mhm.
Okay, sorry. I went back to, okay, so we learned about Bloom's taxonomy and its use in writing, learning objectives in writing, learning objectives, learning outcomes, we can say, outcomes, and English language learning objectives. They're very useful for both. Then you know you can use it for questions, you can use it for many things. So this will really be very useful. So keep it at hand. Okay, another thing we have learned, did you remember? Objectives.
We can make indicator of evaluation. Is it is similar to, yes, the roulette of Bloom or taxonomy of Bloom by Bloom?
Bloom, the indicators, they are in the bases curriculares. Yes, but they can be guided also. Yes, evaluation is also guided by Bloom's taxonomy. So if I want my students to go up in critical thinking, I have to go and think of those verbs we were writing that are higher order thinking. Yes, for example, compare, analyze, research, and design. So if I want my students to show their really deep level of understanding of a topic, I need to use those verbs. So by using this taxonomy, we will be able to go from objectives to activities to evaluation indicators. Excellent. Very good observation. So we learned that with Bloom's taxonomy, we can also think of evaluation activities, and there is another word in the lesson plan. It's evaluation. We can organize evaluation activities and think of evaluation indicators. Yes, indicators. Think of evaluation indicators. Okay. Okay. Question? Any question that you have that is important to answer? Do you think? Any question? No? Or did we learn about writing language objectives? Yes, we already around that. Yes, question? One question that is important to ask.
Miss, sorry, but a classmate that I don't want to say the name have a doubt about the task 4.
Task 4.
And yes.
Which is the doubt? You can ask.
I don't know who what is their doubt, but I believe that no yes I believe that if you can explain for last time, yes.
Okay.
So fast, please.
Yes, the task 4. So task 4, we did some exercises we already did for task 4. Yes, so it's done.
Yes.
Yes.
To me, it's clear is read and follow the
more or less
instructions
and following the instructions. But let me check because I cannot share. Sorry about that. I cannot share, but I'm trying to share. It's only that I have probably too many shared. So I cannot share it, but I will share once I get to it. Zoom is complex. So the task 4 revises again the brainstorming we did about lesson planning. We already have it. Then questions we have discussed about what you know, what you think, what you thought about planning before. Then is the link to the chapter that you need to read on lesson planning. And you have here different subtitles in the chapter. Plus a chart that you cannot see on the website. Este cuadro no se puede ver en la versión online, porque se aparece como, no lo lee al cuadro. Entonces, este es el cuadro que está en el medio del capítulo, pero se lo lee, no se lo puede leer bien. Okay, so the chart is here in the middle of the chapter, around the middle of the chapter, and then some questions. And finally, you will do your own lesson plan. That's the post and upload it to the task created today, week 8. Yes?
Okay.
And
Yes.
it's very short. It's very short. It's general reflection about planning. Just finish the listening. Yes, so you listen to that again, think about Bloom, and think about the objectives, and you can we can revise next class.
Thank you, Miss.
So finally, just to have some agreements, so all of the documents will be or are already in, will be the last ones on Educandos. You have one more task. If you want formative feedback, you can upload them also to Educandos for feedback. If not, you just keep it in the portfolio, and when we have portfolio revision, you will have a revision, yes, feedback. Then, well, the visual display, this is all, but the forum posting, I always remind you, this is a graded activity. So you need to do this. Then we need the second version of the reflective video for feedback, the lesson plan, yes, the draft, because it's always a version to improve. Sí, siempre como hacemos primero este borrador, ¿verdad? Para luego tener feedback. And until the weekend, you have time to share with me at least one lesson plan for each of you. And this is the first week. So remember that we will be completing lesson plans for our portfolio from now until we finish the practicum. And of course, on Monday, we start again the connection with practicum and with the mentor teachers. Okay, so that's it. Thank you. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for coming. Questions and answers, if you have any. And thank you for attending. It was a pleasure. And there was a nice song waiting for you early today. So I want to share with you as we say goodbye. This is really with appreciation for your work and for motivation as future teachers. Aware that you are.
Song goes out to the real MVP, slinging 1, 2, 3s and ABCs, yeah. Let's hear it for our teachers. I'm talking about the ones who are probably underpaid. They work with very little play. 3 cheers for our teachers. 'Cause they are the ones Hollywood should be making big blockbuster movies about. 'Cause I don't think Superman stands a chance against Miss Henderson KO first round, no doubt. She's so strong. And I just wanna thank God for teachers. Without them we would all be dumb creatures. Not just educators, the difference makers, small town world changers. They should be famous. So I just wanna take a minute and thank God for all our teachers. Yeah, I just wanna take a minute and thank God for all our teachers. I just wanna take a minute and thank God for all our teachers.
Okay. Okay, have a great weekend. See you.
Thank you, Miss.
Thank you, Miss.
Thank you, Miss.
Bye-bye.
See you.